Welcome to the Fieldhouse Strength Podcast. Fieldhouse Strength Podcast. If it's strength and conditioning, powerlifting, athlete performance, general fitness, and anything in between, we're talking about it. Your hosts are pros who've done it all and here to share that knowledge with you. This is the Fieldhouse Strength Podcast. And here are your hosts, Sean Jones and Jonathan Byrd.
And welcome back to the Fieldhouse Strength Podcast. I'm Sean Jones, and with me as always is the lovely and talented Jonathan Byrd.
Welcome back, guys.
All right, so this is one we've been talking about for a little while, and we've kind of looked forward to doing, and this was a tough task. Right, Byrd?
Yeah, I mean, I got up to 30 names initially and had to scale it back. We decided we were going to try to do the top 20 athletes of all time based on our opinion and our opinion alone. But feel free to argue about it because, you know, that's the point of this. But I got to 30 and I had to start trimming back. And, you know, I'm trimming back Hall of Famers and greatest of all times. So
I literally made changes just before we started. So I chose American athletes only because I didn't think I'd be able to narrow down anything beyond that.
Yeah, I guess I didn't technically. I have a few foreign-born players, but you'll see.
Yeah. So, like I said, I just didn't think I'd be decisive enough to pick 20 people if I had free reign. So
Yeah, I understand that.
Well, my criteria was they had to be great at their sport, but the primary criteria I chose was, are they a freak athlete? And what I mean by that is jump high, run fast, do things that other human beings can't do.
Yeah, so I gave an extra nod to people who were dominant in multiple sports, but otherwise my category is pretty similar. You have to be just a freak of nature. If I put you in another sport, you could still be dominant.
Okay, well, why don't we get started? What's your first one, Byrd?
First one's a little bit of a homer pick, but it's Larry Allen. In my opinion, he's one of, if not the greatest offensive lineman ever. He's the only human to ever be on all-decade teams in two different positions. He made it as a guard and a tackle.
You know, I'm glad I didn't think of him because I would have had a hard time not putting him on my list.
And so, you know, I mean, he's, in my opinion, definitely the greatest guard ever, maybe the best offensive lineman ever, and one of the most decorated. So, freak of nature, strong. You know, they claim he benched 700 pounds. That's not true. But he did bench over 600 pounds. I fully believe that.
Sure.
And, I mean, I've watched him run down athletes in the NFL on interceptions and all kinds of things. I mean, just a freak of nature.
Yeah, and those of us that can remember, the only interception return that didn't go for a touchdown that I can remember from 25 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he helped. I don't remember who that was, but he ran him. I mean, he had the angle, don't get me wrong, but, I mean, when you run 4.8 at 360-plus pounds, I mean, that's flying.
A 360-pound man's going to have a difficult time running that far, much less that fast.
No doubt.
Well, I've got a very loose ranking. So number 20 for me is Brock Lesnar.
Hard to vote against him, man. He is a freak, was able to make an NFL roster, was an All-American wrestler, a dominant UFC champion until the whole intestinal issue. Freak.
He was ripped and had to cut weight to make heavyweight for the UFC.
Man, that's scary.
Have you ever seen film of him when he was with the Vikings for a little while?
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's a theme with the Vikings. They take chances on people. You'll see that later in my list.
Yeah, you could tell he's a guy that would have stuck with playing football, would have been an NFL, like a career guy.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, he was a walk-on in football.
Yeah, in the NFL.
In the NFL.
Scary.
They don't let that happen very much.
No. All right. Mine, I guarantee you this was not on your list. Woody Strode. Any idea who that is?
Is he from Maysville?
No. He is considered the all-time best decathlete ever.
Really?
Yeah. He won, I want to say it was 4 different decathlete world games and 2 different Olympic golds. Set all the records. This is, you know, 80s.
Yeah.
So kind of rewrote the game as far as decathletes go. And again, I don't know what a decathlete is. It's all of it. I mean, it's a sprint, it's a 400-meter, it's a long jump, it's a triple jump, it's a shot put. I mean, he had to be good at all of it.
I mean, by definition, the decathlon is set to determine who the best athlete in the world is.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that come in at number 19 for me. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Me too. It didn't even make the list. Number 19 is one that it's more subjective than anything else, and it's Reggie White.
Oh, the pastor.
Yeah, Reggie White was
Reverend.
You know what's sad is he'd been retired about 6 or 7 years, and I was coaching a youth camp, and I mentioned him, and the kids didn't know who he was.
Yeah, they say he's one of the strongest, physically on the field, strongest players ever.
Never seen anything like it. That hump move that he would use.
One arm, dump him.
Yeah, he said he stole that from Howie Long.
Huh.
Yeah, he was 315 pounds or so. I was listening to Mike and Mike when it was on, and Mike Golick said he remembered him coming into camp out of shape and them giving him a hard time. So he said, time me in the 40. He ran a 4.6 at 315.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So my number 18, Gretzky, the only hockey player to make the list. Those guys are some freak athletes. Just size. They're NFL tight end size generally, but I don't know where to rank them because I'm not a big hockey fan. Yeah. But just growing up, I always thought Gretzky was the greatest hockey player ever, so I stuck him on the list.
I didn't understand how big those guys were until I met one in person. He was 6'7".
Yeah.
And he looked like an NFL tight end, like you said. Number 18 for me is an NFL tight end, Vernon Davis.
And I bet a lot of you don't know who Vernon Davis is.
Yeah, Vernon Davis, at the time, the reason they probably don't know him is his NFL career was less than anticipated.
Yeah.
Which you
couldn't.
Come out of
Maryland, right?
Maryland, of all places, yeah. That's when University of Maryland wasn't doing a whole lot. They were still in the ACC. Vernon Davis was 6'3", 250, fastest NFL tight end ever, 4.3 40, at a 10,700 meters, bench pressed 225 33 times. Now, these next numbers are what his strength coach in college claimed: 460 bench, 685 squat, 355 clean, and a 40-inch vertical.
That clean's unreal.
If you're not familiar with the hang clean or power clean, I'm not sure which one it was, how ridiculously explosive you have to be to move that kind of weight.
No doubt. Number 17 for me, Allen Iverson. He was an all-state, all-world quarterback in high school. Obviously, an all-time great NBA player, and actually said many times that he enjoyed playing football more, but he knew he had a bigger future playing basketball. And he had multiple Division I offers to play quarterback. At the time, Newport News area was turning out some of the best athletes in the world.
They still do.
And it was considered the man.
Played in the same conference as Michael Vick and Ronald Curry. Well, same town.
Yeah, small, scary area of just freaky athletes.
Yeah, no doubt. Number 17, I've got Serena Williams.
Nice. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the way her legs are, she looks like she could play fullback.
No doubt. I mean, she was a dominant tennis player.
I mean, we're talking 120 mile per hour serve as a woman and 36 majors.
Number 16 for me, Ricky Henderson.
Oh, yeah.
One of the fastest humans ever. Has major league records that will never be touched. I mean, it's something like somebody could average 40 stolen bases for the next 25 years and still not touch his record.
Yeah, number 2 behind him in the record is 500 behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even remotely close. I mean, and was a great leadoff hitter, could hit for power. Supposedly he ran like a 9.6, it was a 100-yard dash back then. So, I mean, it's equivalent to a low 10-second 100-meter time in high school.
That's just 15 years ago. That was world class.
Yeah.
Translate that back to the late 80s, early 90s. Actually, he played longer than that.
Yeah. Late 70s is when he got broken in majors, I think.
Yeah. So I've got at number 16, Michael Vick.
Newport News area guy, too, isn't he?
Yeah, same town as, same conference as guy we just mentioned.
Iverson.
Al Iverson, excuse me. I forgot Allen Iverson's name. The interesting thing about him is he played in the same conference as Ronald Curry, and Ronald Curry was a higher level recruit than he was.
Yeah. Because
Ronald Curry was, this is a pretty remarkable athletic feat, was the National Player of the Year in football and in basketball.
I remember him being such a big recruit when he went to Carolina, but I couldn't remember why. Yeah. Vic did stuff in the NFL that, I mean, guys ran with the football before, but very few could run with the football and throw it 70 yards. Of course, he had his own little spiral there, but freaky athlete.
Well, I remember when they were in the national championship against Florida State. Had he not been on that team, it would have been a 60-point blowout.
Oh, yeah.
And it came right down to the wire.
All right. The first woman to appear on my list, Jackie Jordan Kersee. depending on who you ask, could be the greatest female athlete of all time, one of the most decorated female Olympians of all time. 88 through 96, she won 6 different medals in the Olympics, multiple world champions in the heptathlon, and held a world record in the long jump and in, I think, heptathlon.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with that one. That was one that was bouncing around in my head too. I wanted to make sure I put somebody on there that used the ball when they competed. But my next one is Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
His numbers are impressive for any human being. We're talking 4.340, a 10.300, and a 43-inch vertical. Now add the fact that he's built like a tight end at 6'5", 240. It's even more impressive.
The biggest thing I remember about Megatron, I remember seeing one of those sports sciences that supposedly had like a 25-foot catch radius. So if the ball was in 25 feet of him, he could get to it.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's like having 2 receivers.
Yeah, it's unreal.
The thing about him, he was such a remarkable player, and Paul Johnson, such a remarkable recruiter at Georgia Tech. He was able to recruit him to go play in a triple option offense.
Yeah, scary, right?
And he was still good enough to be a first-round draft pick.
Scary. 14 for me, Jackie Robinson.
Yeah.
Not only did he break the color barrier and all those things, but just a phenomenal athlete. Just dominant on the field. He was a college football player too, right?
He played 4 sports at UCLA.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, just a freaky athlete and great ambassador for everything. Just a good human.
Yeah, I think his civil rights significance often overshadows his pure athletic ability.
Yeah, no doubt.
So next I've got Dave Winfield.
Hey, that's my number 13.
Yeah. We're getting a little bit of overlap at this point. We're talking about a guy that was, how big was Dave Winfield?
A massive human being. He drafted in all 3 major sports by all 3, the ABA at the time, the NFL, and Major League Baseball. And went on to be a Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball. Seems like you might have picked the right choice.
Yeah, exactly. He was a great football player at Minnesota and basketball player as well. He was 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
I think he was 6'6".
Broad-shouldered.
Yeah, he's a guy you look on the baseball card and you just knew he was a monster.
Yeah, scary. So, no need about number 13, I guess. I can go ahead and skip number 12 because we already mentioned Winfield. My number 12 is Jim Thorpe. If you put him against today's athletes, is he going to dominate? No, which is why he's further down on my list. But it's not fair to compare multiple generations, much less a century away.
Right.
He was completely dominant in all major sports and an Olympian in which he won Olympic medals by finding shoes out of the trash.
Right.
What else can you say about it?
Yeah, he was just head and shoulders above everybody else in the world for a long time, too. What number are we on again? Okay, 13.
You're on 13. Yep.
I got Jim Brown. Jim Brown, here's where I'm coming from with Jim Brown. Obviously, he's pretty good at football.
Yeah.
Where's he still on the list?
He's still top 6 all-time rushing yards.
Exactly. And he was also an All-American lacrosse player at Syracuse. Mm-hmm. He did some professional boxing. He played at 230 pounds in the 60s.
Yeah, he's one of the few that you could cross-generational.
Absolutely.
He would still be a big-time football player in the NFL. His size is still freaky.
He'd be an all-pro running back right now.
Yeah.
And, when you look at him, any of his films back then, it looked like a man among boys.
I think that's one of the keys you can look at this. All of the guys that are on our list, it wouldn't matter what generation you put them in, they would be very, very good, if not dominant.
And I think that's the key to it, yeah.
So we're at number 11 for me with Dan Gable.
Oh, man. Yeah.
You're a wrestling guy.
I didn't think about Dan Gable.
I'm wrong. For a long time, he was considered the greatest wrestler ever, right?
Yeah. And the greatest coach ever.
Yeah. So... he took what he had, bottled it, and then is giving it to a lot of other people.
He never lost a match until one Olympic match.
Yeah. So he's just outside my top 10, and I'm really disappointed that the wrestling guy.
Does a professional wrestler count? I got Brock Lesnar.
I'll go with MMA guy. So.
Okay.
We left out Lesnar's WWE stuff. You have to be a freak of nature to be there too, buddy.
Yeah, those guys are out of their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dan Gable. I can't believe I left him out. That's good. That's a good pickup, though.
My list is better.
So far, so good. You're not wrong. Dan Gable. Number 12, I got LeBron James.
Hard to argue against LeBron. I actually have him on my list just a little higher.
Yeah. You're talking about a man that's 6'8", 250 pounds, and runs like a guard, cries like a girl.
Yeah. There's a lot of hate for LeBron. And I will always be a Jordan is better than LeBron guy. Now, I don't care what you say. In fact, your argument goes out the window the moment you say that.
Yeah.
But absolutely amazing athlete.
Oh, yeah.
Run, jump, catch, was an all-state in the state of Ohio as a sophomore in football.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he gave up on football, and rightfully so. He knew he was going to be a straight to the NBA kind of guy. But kudos to my man being an all-state football player, wide receiver. If he stuck with football, I think he'd be a dominant NFL wide receiver.
Sure. He's definitely not going to have a 20-year NFL career.
No.
So I think he made a good pick on that one.
He's made a few dollars.
Yeah.
All right, number 10. This one will get a little bit of controversy for some people, but Simone Biles. Okay. I realize the issues there in the last Olympics, but she had been so dominant that they changed the rules to work against her.
Anytime that they have to change the way the game is played to make it fair for you to play it.
So for that very thing alone, that's what put her in my top 10.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's one thing that, if you're not careful, you can get caught up with is bigger, crazy size, doing stuff. Relative strength is something that comes into play. I mean, we're talking about Simone Biles could flip in the air, and I would be, if I get off the bed the wrong way, I don't realize where I am. You know what I mean? I never argue with a high-level gymnast.
No. Like I said, this last Olympics aside, with the mental issues that came about, just pure athleticism. When you have to change the rules to handicap her, one of the best ever.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I got Iron Mike Tyson for the next one.
It's crazy that I didn't put Tyson on my list, but it's hard for me to argue against it, too.
Right. Yeah, the thing is he was a boxer. But unless you really understood what it was like to watch him box at that time, I go back and I look at his films, and it's like his knockout highlights, but most of them are the entire fight.
Yeah, and you got to remember, he was 18 or 19 years old when he was the world heavyweight champion?
20.
Yeah,
He'd been 20 for like a week.
So, I mean, that on itself deserves to make the list, but I left him off for somebody else.
Yeah. One thing I would recommend that you do is go take a look at Mike Tyson on YouTube or whatever and watch how he bends laterally and can squat up and down, and how he just explodes from his toes up to his head.
Yeah, his ability to change levels as a fighter is what made him so scary, Dana. And he's not a big guy.
No.
And he's fighting in a heavyweight division that everybody's 6'4" or bigger in. Tells you how dominant of a freak he was.
Absolutely.
My number 9, foreign-born Usain Bolt.
Can't argue.
I mean, I get it. It's track and it's just running, but he's so dominant, it's not even close.
He's the fastest man that ever lived, most likely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even close. Like, he did things that science thought were impossible as far as speed and stride length. And it's rewrote how people are coaching sprinters now. It was believed that, a sprinter needed to be 5'10", 5'11" to be maximum output, and he has proved that to be not accurate.
Well, a lot of coaches are changing their mind on whether or not they're trying to stress stride length and in favor of height with each step. It has changed the language of training in a profession that is solely based on results.
Yep.
The next one I've got is Herschel Walker.
Hard to argue against Herschel. Did he win 2 Heismans?
You know what?
Or was that...
no, that was a guy from South Carolina.
I thought it was running back mile. Anyway, yes, absolute freaking nature.
No, not Ohio State. I'm sorry. It was South Carolina. It was Ohio State, not so.
He ended up, professional fighting until his, 50s?
Yeah. And the rumor is he ran a sub 10, 100 meters at 50 and a sub 4.54.
He's a freakishly nature guy, but man, CTE has got a hold of him.
Yeah. I haven't seen, one way or the other, I bet.
Yeah, but I mean, you play violent sports for your entire career and run the ball the way he ran the ball, because he ran it like he was pissed off.
No doubt. And he was probably the best conditioned running back in NFL history.
For freaky nature. The stories of his training were unreal, like amount of push-ups and air squats and sit-ups that he would do every day was crazy.
He's kind of pushed it as body weight training is superior to weightlifting. No, he's just superior to everybody that's doing body weight training.
Yeah, no doubt. It's freaking nature, for sure. My number 8, LeBron James. You know, we've already talked about LeBron. You know, we're in kind of the same area with him. I moved him all the way to number 8 just because part of it is because of his longevity. Amazing athlete for a long period of time. That matters to me.
Sure. Somebody I just kind of put in there before this, Aaron Donald. I forgot to write Aaron Donald up on the list, but I've got him in my head. Now, we're talking about a guy that's 6'1".
Yeah, undersized.
Yeah.
For NFL standard.
He's a big guy, but not for NFL. It's 290 pounds. He's 4'6", 40, 500-pound bench.
Yeah, unreal athleticism, explosiveness. The biggest thing about him for me is his explosiveness. Coming out of his stance, being able to unroll his hips and strike with his hands. I mean, freaky good.
I've seen him jump out of a swimming pool, chest deep water.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that, you know, he would have been an Olympic-style wrestler, could have been a gold medal type wrestler, you know. I mean, that kind of freakily good, you know.
An Olympic lifter.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been a great Olympic lifter.
Let's see, where we at? My number 7 is, this guy didn't make your list.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds. Before everybody starts, Barry Bonds never failed a drug test, and it wasn't illegal in Major League Baseball at the time.
No, yeah.
But he's one of the only few people to have ever hit 40 home runs and stole 40 bases in a single season. And hand-eye coordination is just off the chart. I don't care how much drugs you took, it ain't make you hit a baseball better.
Well, think about this. He beat a very drugged-up Mark McGwire. So that, if that's the equalizer, then he proved that wasn't.
No, I mean, just freaky. I mean, still 40 bases. When's the last time somebody stole 40 bases in Major League Baseball? I bet it's been a decade.
Ricky Henderson, maybe.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So still.
So the next one I got is Lou Gehrig, another baseball player. So Lou Gehrig, I mean, we're talking about over 2,700 hits, 2,130 games without missing a game.
Again, it comes back to that longevity piece matters to me.
Absolutely. Most important ability is availability, right?
Mm-hmm.
He could also pitch, and he played fullback at Columbia.
I did not know that part.
Yeah. So pretty good student, too, if you played football in the Ivy League.
Hey, look, if you play fullback, you're my kind of guy anyway.
No doubt about it. So we're talking about a guy that was probably a 5-tool guy, I would say, at that time. So an accomplished football player and could pitch.
All right, so my number 6 is my replacement for your Tyson, Muhammad Ali. To me, he's the greatest fighter of all time, often undersized compared to some of the people he fought, very intelligent fighter. Watching him move around the ring, his ability, his stamina to outlast people, just a freaky fighter, man, and fought late into his life, and obviously we know the issues that come from that, but just amazing.
We talked about Simone Biles earlier, that her body awareness. I don't think anybody has any better body awareness than Muhammad Ali did. I mean, you talk about the ability to slip punches and take less punishment. You know, he fought guys like George Foreman that could hit at least as hard as Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
He maybe not have been as fast. Evander Holyfield said that the hardest he had ever been hit by one punch was from George Foreman. And they say he thought he had knocked his teeth out. The next guy I've got is Ricky Henderson.
A lot of these guys are overlap. It all kinds of put what you put value on, but obviously we both feel like Ricky Henderson's one of the greatest athletes ever.
I mean, there's only so many of them, right?
Yeah, you know. My next one, and he's not on your list either, man. I'm so disappointed in you. Lawrence Taylor.
You know what? I debated it. He's definitely my favorite defensive player.
I just feel like he changed everything about the game of football that was played defensive. He changed that position. He could dominate in the NFL right now. I mean, not obviously as a 60-year-old man, but
5 years ago.
You know, when you put him in today's era,
Yeah.
he's an all-pro Hall of Famer still.
I think he's the best one still.
Yeah, so, you know, and that's, to me, and he had some ability to do, Olympic throws and things like that. Supposedly he was freakily strong without ever training.
Right. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, we don't ever know how good he actually could have been, but for me, he's a top 5 athlete of all time.
Absolutely. And the reason I didn't put him on there is because I was trying to be more multidimensional in terms of, but yeah, I'm not going to argue with that a bit. One of my favorite highlights of LT wasn't the sack or anything else he got on the play. It was him blitzing, and it looks like he's defeating the block, but when you see it closely in slow motion, he's just throwing a boxing combination to the guy's face. So Next up, I had Jim Thorpe. So we've talked about him already. Native American athlete as well.
Yep. Why don't you go ahead and do your number 6 so we can catch up a little bit?
Okay, so we got prime time.
Dion, baby.
Yeah, we're talking about a guy that ran a 4.2 in the 40, played a professional football and baseball game in the same day.
All-star in both sports.
All-star in both sports.
He won a Super Bowl and a Major League Baseball World Series.
I forgot about that. That's right.
Yeah.
And pretty good head football coach now, too.
I'll give you a hint. He's first on my list.
Yeah, he was pretty excited about that.
For my lifetime, I've never seen a better athlete than Dion. I mean, he could just do it all. He's the best corner ever, which is probably the hardest position to play in the NFL. You're left on an island to try to run and cover. And he was able to play on the offensive side of the ball as well. Again, a guy that doesn't matter what era, it doesn't matter 50 years from now. You drop Deion Sanders, prime Deion Sanders into the NFL 50 years from now, he's still going to be one of the greatest ever.
No doubt. He's a lot stronger than people give him credit for.
Yeah.
Look, the older I get, the more I appreciate the fact that he did not get paid to tackle.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, some of that's coaching, and you guys don't realize this, but you teach that guy that's so important to everything you do to just run the guy out of bounds and don't injure yourself because availability is super important here.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so where am I at? So I'm on my number 4.
Okay.
The greatest basketball player of all time doesn't make him the greatest athlete of all time. Michael Jordan. Again, also played high school football, so everybody's clear. But his career could have went a different direction. When he tore his ACL, he could have laid it up and done, but to me, he's the most dominant basketball player ever and just a freaky, freaky athlete. Obviously, he could have been a world-class long jumper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And who knows what he could have done in track. He played baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He certainly seemed fast.
And was able to make it to AAA baseball after not swinging a bat since high school. And I don't care what you say. You can't say, well, it's publicity. He batted .280. It's not like that's horrible. If you batted .280 in Major League Baseball for your career, you'd have a chance of making the damn Hall of Fame.
Yeah, what I think is adorable is when you got a guy that got cut from his Pop Warner team saying that he sucked at baseball.
Yeah.
The next two are interchangeable, Iverson and Jordan. So I'll bump. You go to your next one. I'm just going to jump number 2.
Okay. All right. Well, so my my next one, Bo Jackson. So remember what I said, longevity matters to me, which is probably why he couldn't be number 1 for me.
Mm-hmm.
But he is an absolute freak of nature athlete. Run, jump, hit a baseball, throw it a mile. I mean, I watched, clips of him, throwing guys out from deep center to home just on bullets.
Yeah.
They talked about how quick he was able to get to first base out of the right side batter's box. It was unreal. Like his first major league hit's like a dribbler. And like by the time they pick it up, he's already out of first base path.
Well, I mean, the legend is that he ran a 4.1 840.
With a handheld watch, that would not completely shock me.
Yeah.
And he was a ball of muscle.
Yeah, now he was well over 200 pounds, 230 pounds.
Well, so supposedly his hip injury should have never been able to take place, but because he was so strong that it forced it out of socket or whatever. It's like unreal.
Yeah, and the fact they didn't believe it made him wait too long, and he got avascular necrosis, and it started eating away the bone. May have been something they could have fixed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I said number 2, but I meant 3, Jackie Robinson.
Yep.
Okay, so we both got that. So Jackie Robinson played 4 sports, but he did it at a high level. He went to UCLA. He lettered in 4 sports.
Okay.
Baseball, obviously, football, basketball, and track. He was an All-American in football, had 12 yards per carry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, All-American. And he was a long jump national champion and led UCLA basketball team in scoring twice.
Yeah, that is okay. So I might have had him a little too low on my list.
Well, I didn't know all that either until I was making this list. And like I said before, as important of a figure as he is historically, that really tends to shroud the fact that he was a freak athlete.
All right. My number 2 is also your number 2.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Wilt Chamberlain.
Only guy in history to ever have a 5-quadruple double. I don't even know how to say that.
Yeah.
He had double-digit points, rebounds, blocks, steals, assists, all in one game.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody knows he scored 100 points. He averaged something like 34 rebounds for a season.
Yeah, and 50 points a game.
Yeah. and played 48 minutes, supposedly.
Yeah, he has 72 NBA records.
Yeah, they had to change the game to work against him.
They had to make the lane wider. I mean, there was a lot of stuff there.
But here's the piece a lot of people don't realize. So he was a track athlete as well. Had a 6'6" high jump, ran a 440 in 49 seconds, and an 880 in 158. Dude shot put 53 feet 4 inches and a 22-foot long jump.
In the 60s.
Yeah. Before rubberized tracks, before the training that takes place. People say, well, I think he'd be dominant in today's NBA.
Well, he's muscular like the guys are now. He looks like a better athlete than any center I can think of in the NBA.
So anytime when you're older, when it's that long ago, the legends grow.
Sure.
I don't believe he bench pressed 500 pounds. He's just too long-armed.
Right. I mean, 7'1".
You know what I mean? But supposedly he was a freakily strong guy. Just a phenomenal athlete.
I mean, you look at a guy like him, he looks like somebody that trains with weights, works with a coach to get ready for the game now, and that stuff didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
Not in that regard,
No,
anyway.
absolutely not. And explosive.
Yeah. And not to mention some of the off-the-field activities that he's mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, he was a lady wrangler. I mean, kudos to you, sir.
He set 72 NBA records. I'm willing to bet the Centers for Disease Control have more impressive records on it than that.
All right. So,
drum roll.
My number one, we've already talked about. Bottom line, Primetime is the greatest athlete I have ever seen. And that's not going to be number one for a lot of people. I know that. But for me, for what it's worth, I just can't find a better one. Being able to be dominant at corner in the NFL, nobody does that today. They do not leave a player on an island like that anymore in today's NFL.
And that's, it's fitting that was your number one choice because Bo Jackson is mine.
And I've already made fun of this. Bo Jackson can't be number one. Jim Harbaugh had more NFL rushing yards.
Unbelievable. And that's the thing. Jim Harbaugh had a 45-year career as a backup.
But it's only like 2,500 or 2,800 yards, man.
Yeah.
It's just so, we as fans were robbed of what the best Bo Jackson could have done.
Oh, yeah.
Because, he's playing baseball. He's only played half a football season. Mm-hmm. He shared carries with one of the greatest running backs of all time, Marcus Allen.
The fact that he made him share carries.
Just Bo Jackson is just, again, I had him at number 3, so it's not like I could say anything.
Right.
But I just always point out to people when they talk about how great Bo Jackson was, hey, man, Jim Harbaugh rushed more yards.
That's why I tell people that Tony Romo is the best quarterback in Cowboys history.
I actually agree with you, though.
Yeah, but people don't like to hear that.
Yeah.
They like to hear Troy Aikman.
Yeah, he just didn't throw that much.
Yeah.
We ran the ball that.
Didn't have to, and didn't play that long.
Yeah, Bo Jackson, amazing athlete, man. What would you do to be able to get all those guys in a room at one time, man? Just
had to go to the graveyard for one.
Oh yeah, well most of them.
Oh yeah. But Bo Jackson, I think that what's interesting is those two. They both played multiple professional sports, and they were contemporaries.
Yeah.
I probably am able to remember this a little bit better than you, a little older than you are, but I remember thinking how good Deion Sanders was. It kind of ruined it because Bo Jackson was playing. I just thought that's what pro athletes did. And I
just thought that was normal, huh?
Yeah, I remember thinking, well, Deion Sanders is good, but he's no Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything, it's not always all of his accomplishments, but it's the lore of Bo Jackson.
Oh, man. Well, like the other stuff, like we were talking about before, I supposedly Bo Jackson should bow and arrow with his feet.
He said that's how he rehabbed his hip.
Yeah, just the things he could do were astonishing. Don't let my jokes about Harbaugh undermine how great of an athlete he was. I mean, he's played 3 years in the NFL, and it was kind of part-time. Look at his college accomplishments. But you got to look at the total picture. Hence why he's in my top 3.
And not far-fetched to say he could have been a Hall of Famer in both sports.
Correct. Yeah. Definitely, if he picked one to focus on, either one, I think he could have been a Hall of Famer in either one. I love hearing the folklore stories of Bo Jackson. Like supposedly, when they hired a new high school coach and he was out there running around, and they looked at him like, well, who's the that guy? And they're like, no, he's a junior, huh? They thought he was a grown man out there playing around with kids.
Anyway, I'm sure that we've left some people off or added some that people would disagree with. Good news is we'll never hear from them.
Well, hey, look, leave me a comment on this post. Let us know who you think the best athletes of all time are. I'm interested to see how my list compares.
Yeah.
The problem is, like with my list, I really tried to cover a lot of sports and a lot of different things. Most people don't even know who Woody Strode is. People, our generation probably don't even know who Jackie Joyner Kersey is. Jim Thorpe, for that matter, Dan Gable. Oh, yeah. I mean, some of these people that people won't even know, but if you start reading, you're like, oh wow, yeah, that's a freaky athlete too.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, feel free to pick Byrd's list apart.
Hey, I'm ready. I'll fire back. Let's see what you got.
All right. Well, that's another week down. So.
Hey, another one down, guys.
Another one down.
We'll try to be back next week and get another one up posted. Please share. Please comment on it. Let's try to drive this thing up. Try to drive the popularity up. If you want some more controversial topics, let me know, and I'll dive into those too. I don't care.
Looking forward to it. We'll see you next time.
Hey, if you've got an issue that's keeping you from reaching your potential, go to our website, www.fieldhousestrength.com. Schedule a consultation. Maybe I can help. If you have a nagging injury or movement problem, we'll do a virtual Zoom assessment. Based on what I see, I'll let you know how I can help. Free of charge, no obligation.